Today, I'm delighted to be interviewing Corinne Levy-Strauss. She is a long-time Toastmaster. As long as I have been a Toastmaster, she's always been a force in the district.
Thank you so much, Aletta. It's a real honor to be with you today.
Corinne, take us back to the beginning. When did you join Toastmasters? What brought you to our doors?
So, the very first meeting I attended was December 1999. And
Wow.
I had just come out of a really difficult divorce, and I was really looking for a place where I could find adult conversation. I had two very small children, aged 2 and 5 at the time. And at the same time, I also wanted just an opportunity to be able to connect with people on a more intellectual basis. And so I found Toastmasters in a local little advert that came in my post box, and I decided that I would go and try it out. And the very first meeting I attended was that December. I then officially joined early the following year in 2000. So officially, I've been a member for 26 years now. And the club that I joined had asked me to be on the exco immediately because I had come out of a learning and development background. The club was really struggling. At the time, there were only 10 members in the club, so just about everybody needed to be on the committee. And I said yes.
That's amazing. And what's been your biggest takeaway or the biggest transformation that you've seen in yourself in all that time?
Initially, it was really about just being part of that community. The community I belonged to was Gold Reef Toastmasters, and they were a very social club. So we did a lot of social things. We did a potjie pot competitions and connected in with amazing races that all had some Toastmasters link to it. You know, you had to deliver a little speech at the beginning or during or at the end. But I think my real journey started when the president of the Toastmasters Club met me at a contest, the annual contest. And he said, "Don't you want to join our club? Because we keep losing our members because it's a corporate club. As soon as somebody resigns, they have to leave the organization." And he said, "I'm the only experienced person and I need somebody else on my team. So please won't you come in and be our president?" And I decided that I couldn't be on the sidelines and just evaluate. And in those days, I don't think I had even finished my 10 competent communicator speeches. And I decided I needed to really put some effort in. And so that leadership piece of leading by example, I think would be the piece that has really shown up in my career because having that ability to be able to say, I'm not going to do anything that I am not going to expect anybody else to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And yeah, so that's in a nutshell.
That's amazing. Corinne, you've been instrumental in helping Toastmasters grow throughout Africa through your company network. Tell us a bit about that journey.
Hmm. So when I joined, it was a club that had been started on the 1st of June 1990, and I joined them in around about 2008. So it's been going for a number of years. But I found that it was the best kept secret in the organization. And when we moved offices, we built a brand new head office in Rosebank, and we were moving out of the city center of Johannesburg. Many people kept asking me to start a club in our Rosebank office. And I resisted initially, although I had been involved in starting clubs in other organizations. But I had never started in our organization, and I resisted it and I tried to palm it off onto other people, and it just nobody was having it, and I needed to get involved. And so we launched the Toastmasters Club in our Rosebank office. And that then became successful. And then I was asked, there was a person who knew that I'd done that, and they were in people and culture or human resources in our Mozambique office. And they were saying they wanted to use Toastmasters as a talent development initiative. And also in Mozambique, the majority of the people could not speak English properly, and the country was growing and having a
Mm.
lot of foreign investment coming in, and they needed people to practice in English. And so they asked me if I would start the club in Mozambique. And that model was slightly different in that I went into the country. I did a full day's worth of training with the entire club who were coming in to be chartered. And then on the second day, I trained myself and Frank Turo, actually, who's also for District 129, is a presidential citation recipient. And the two of us spent 2 days in Mozambique. And then the following year went back to go train them for club officer training. And the following year again. And then the third year, I said, no, 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 no. You need to get plugged into your community. You can't have world according to Karen. You've got to get more than Karen's perspective. And then it just grew. And now we've just launched our 16th club in
Wow.
Lesotho. I've been involved in 8, maybe 9 of those across the African continent. And so Southern Africa, 74 and 129 have been involved in all of the clubs that were launched here. But they obviously are East Africa, West Africa, but they did pull me in a few times to come and help with additional training to just get them going and make sure that they get the right start off, because we found that if you don't do those 2 days initial training, people fall off a lot quicker because they don't really understand how they link their what's in it for me from a corporate perspective, hashtag real skills, into their workplace. And so they lose momentum.
That's a remarkable imprint, or kind of ripple effect, if you think of 16 clubs across the continent and at least
Mm,
8 or 9 of those you've personally been involved with. Think of all the people, all the families, the communities
mm.
that's touched. That is quite the legacy. Karen,
Thank you.
the Africa leads the way. You're obviously passionate about Africa. What does it mean to you when you hear a phrase like Africa leads the way?
And I really identify with being an African. I really identify with one of our past district directors whose theme was "We create leaders for Africa." So
Mm.
very, very, very passionate about it and helping people to be able to articulate their message in a way that leads the way for others. And my passion is leading leaders who lead and developing leaders for the future,
Mm. Mm.
leaders
Karen,
who make leaders.
yes. So it's that concept of giving and growing and building momentum
Yes,
over time. Karen,
yes.
tell me a little bit about what it felt to be nominated for and to receive the Presidential Citation Award.
Sure, it was very overwhelming because I am very passionate about being a servant leader and often will champion other people's development and not necessarily or find it more difficult to accept being in the limelight myself. And I've been on a personal journey for the last few years in accepting and receiving other people's support, care, love. And so this was a huge lesson for me initially to even be able to accept that this
Mm.
was something that I achieved. But
Yeah.
I still know that it's off the back of giants in this district. I would not be where I am today without those initial leaders like Richard and Sasha Greaves, like Errol van der Merwe from Alberton Toastmasters, like Tim Knight, who's also last year received the presidential citation, and many, many, many other leaders, yourself included, Aletta, just showing us the way from an Africa perspective, being the first African and the first woman from Africa to take on these senior leadership roles. And so, yeah, I mean, it is an achievement, and I stepped into that
Mhm.
on the shoulders of other people. And I often, when people come and ask me to be part of their guidance committee or to be part of helping them to set up growth for themselves, I'm often saying it's less about that DTM title. It's more about what are you paying forward? You don't have to have a title to pay forward leadership.
Yeah. Beautifully said, Corin. And I just think it's part of your personal legacy. You know, it's in your DNA to be a servant leader. And the lesson for me is always, who can I nominate next year? Because these awards are given every year, and sometimes we don't have enough nominations, not because the talent's not there, but because people aren't taking the time to nominate them. So part of paying it forward is recognizing other people who are doing incredible things. So, Corin, if you had to whisper in someone's ear who's considering being a Toastmaster, who's considering perhaps stepping up to leadership in Toastmasters, what message would you have for them at this point?
Fully embrace every opportunity that you get. Whenever I've wanted to do something in my career, I have often looked to the Toastmasters network and to the Toastmasters content material to say, is there something that I can use to develop myself and that I can use to develop others? And I'll give you an example right now is I'm met with our whole of our Africa region. I was in Tanzania last week. I met with our whole of our Africa region's learning community. And through those Toastmasters stories, I'm now saying, why don't we use the podcast material and create podcasts for those countries that have not yet taken on starting a Toastmasters club, and then get our members to be interviewed and use those stories as podcasts to be able to pay that forward into the rest of our organization. So not only are you learning how to become a podcaster yourself, but you're also able to then use the opportunity to sow into other people's lives. When I was looking to start in 3 years' time, I'm retiring from corporate because I'm of that age. And I am wanting to start a new business. And when I first started to think about starting my own business, it was what role in Toastmasters can I take that possibly could give me what I need to be able to market myself, because I'm a terrible marketer. And I that year stood for Club Growth Director. There were 7 people nominated for the Club Growth role. I
Wow.
spent a lot of time interviewing past district directors and past PR individuals to see how I marketed myself and what message I could put out there. So I learned a lot about that. And then it came down to the final vote, which was between Nikki Quinn and myself. And Nikki Quinn was then ultimately awarded that role. And I've not stood again because my life got busy and I took on a bigger role at work. But the lessons that I learned out of standing for that role have stood me in great stead to be able to pick up other things like advertising my learning and development initiatives to my broader audience, being able to, that's in my current role, as well as be able to market myself externally from here. So look in the network, find somebody who has that as their day job of something you're trying to learn, book coffee with them, find the content that's going to support you, and then throw yourself fully into it.
Yeah. And no experience is ever wasted, whether it's an election
Never,
or
ever,
anything
ever.
else. Yeah. Corin,
Never.
it's been an absolute privilege to speak with you today. We are so proud of you and so grateful for your continuing passion for this organization, and specifically in Africa. You have really been a catalyst for so much success. So many people have benefited through your actions. So we are immensely proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aletta, and thank you for the honor of this phenomenal award. I'm just really sad I can't collect it in Vancouver for myself, but I just know that they will bring it back and we will be able to showcase that when you put yourself out there, you will reap the rewards of the things that you are able to give back into the organization.
Fantastic. Thank you, Corin.